It's Me Time, everybody! Me Time premieres Friday, August 26 on Netflix. Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg star in Netflix's new body adventure Me Time, the latest in a long line of stick in the mud versus way too much friendship comedies, wherein dudes learn to find a comfortable middle ground and not be the absolute worst. Hart and Mark filled the story with high energy and fun performances, but the best aspects of the film came from previous movies, including director John Hamburg's own I Love You Man from 2009. In the case of Me Time, the reason Hart Sonny is friendless, or at least hasn't really connected with his childhood friend Hook Dembo, with a superb, doltish movie name in over a decade, is because he's rigidly dedicated himself to being a house husband and helicopter father after starting his own family. It's difficult type of self-dug hole in that regard as the film clumsily for the most part addresses the issue of giving away too much of yourself for fear that you have no value outside of acts of service. It's a noble theme, though Me Time is mostly about the tropes that come with this genre of comedy. The more cut and past elements of Me Time include obligatory animal hijinks which cause injury to both people and the animals, a required music superstar cameo, including a performance, computer generated shenanigans, and alarming maiming that's more gruesome than funny, and older character who's uncomfortably horny, misunderstandings that lead to vandalism, and several other cliches that only serve to deaden the film a little. What works best are some of the actual lines and exchanges that capitalize on Hart and Mark's fast talking chemistry. Me Time isn't without laughs, it's just kind of a ironic pile on. Regina Hall plays Sonny's successful orchestric wife, Maya, who's nicely treated like a fool to her here, given that Maya also has a work life balance in need of tweaking. The most underdeveloped of the three actually is Mark's Huck, whose man child characterized at the end happens to speedily as the movie totally figures out that everyone can have everything they want in terms of family and career. The main focus is on Sonny's life crisis and how it's affecting his family, but it would have been nice to see Huck get more time in the spotlight. There's only one scene with his or him son Sonny, and it goes by a blink. After being tested at work, which is over volunteering at his kid's school, and embarrassed in front of Maya's top client, Armando Luis Gerardo Mendez, who Sonny is convinced is trying to woo his wife. Sonny is talked into speeding spring break by himself while Maya attempts to fill his shoes with their children on vacation. It isn't long before Sonny decided to have a reunion with Hawk for his former best bud's birthday bash in the desert. It's here in Me Time's second act that Hart's unique timidity and Wahlberg's dopey enthusiasm shine the brightest. It makes a while to get there. There are some first act school colleague exchanges that could have been trimmed. But once these two actually share the screen, it's a much sillier and more engaging story. The premise of the movie is these two and their scenes get held back to an odd degree. Me Time has a strong core cast and some distinctive moments of levity, especially when involving an Uber driver played by Leah Lisoli Polino. But there's a very little that fresh here. That said, if you're into watching Hart and Wahlberg play into their strengths as comedic performers and not really straying out of any comfort zone, then Me Time might make for a fine, hyperactive distraction. Me Time has bursts of energy and vibrancy, mostly involving its two leads and their snappy chemistry. But it's also a hodgepodge of predictable buddy comedy beats that doesn't do much to separate itself from what's come better. Still, it does its job on the outdish antiques front, touches on some sentiment, and wraps up the story with a bow, making for a perfectly acceptable, if unremarkable, evening of streaming. We have to hand it to Kevin Hart for his prolificacy, at the very least, keeping the middlebrow, upper middle budget studio comedy going on his own terms after the tortured but admittedly quite watchable The Man from Toronto. Hart, alongside Mark, headlines another Netflix bromance caper with Me Time. Think of it as a grown man's risky business, in which a respectable Mr. Mom type scores an accompanied week at home after being a long stay at home dad in support of his successful wife's career. Me Time has some structural problems that drag the story, taking too long to reintroduce Huck in the second act, and littering the overall canvas with too many side players throughout. But it comes with enough rewards nonetheless, thanks to an idiosyncratic group of lovable people who just need to get a little crazy in order to survive as their true selves. It's on Netflix, guys. Watch it. You won't regret that. It's a very funny and smart movie, if you can say. That was pretty much everything. See you next video.